Today, I'm going to be walking you through how to resource a PLG or product-led growth initiative. I'm going to walk you through the pros and cons of some different resourcing models, the ones that I've seen most successful and the ones that almost always fail. All right, let's dive into it.
CMO Pro.
Hey guys, Bill Macaitis. Thanks so much for joining SaaS CMO Pro. My mission here is to educate marketers, CEOs, VCs on modern SaaS marketing. And PLG or product-led growth is one of those key areas that's going to help you grow fast and efficient. Now, we've seen a lot more companies starting to embrace PLG, especially now where there's such a focus on being capital efficient with your growth. It's one of the main reasons why I think PLG companies tend to grow faster and do it in a much more capital efficient way, as they chose a go-to-market model that is inherently more modern. It's just a faster, better way to grow. Now, that being said, a lot of times I'll work with companies, they'll come to me. My background, CMO at Slack, SVP of Marketing at Salesforce, and CMO at Zendesk. So I've worked with a lot of PLG models before, and I'll have companies that sometimes want help now. My current role is I'm a board advisor, and a lot of times when they come in, that's one of the first questions that'll be asked, and it's a really good question. It's hey Bill, how should I think about resourcing this? Do I put a couple people on it? Do I tell the product team to do it? What are my options here? And before I answer that, I think it's really good to just level set, what is product-led growth? Because that's the most important thing. If you kind of get what product-led growth really is, it's going to really change your mind a little bit on how you go about resourcing it. So some people will just say product-led growth it's just the product, right? You put the product team on it and they do a bunch of PLG type stuff, and all of a sudden you have PLG and you're growing fast. The way I look at it, and this is a little different than some people, is basically that people spend all their time in the product. And you need to think about how that changes things, how that changes where your marketing should be, moving more marketing into the product, how that changes what your sales should be, moving more sales into the product, how that changes what your support and success is, how to move that into the product. How do you make the product itself more simple, more fun? You have these different skill sets within all these teams. So let's start with marketing. In a really good PLG type motion, what you'll see is you'll tend to have a product that is very easy to use and it's fun to use. You're also going to get the value very quickly. They call it how long does it take you to get the aha moment? How many clicks, or literally how many days or hours or minutes does it take you to get that aha moment? Well, marketing tends to be good at, a couple things. We tend to be creative. So marketing design team, if you go to the website, a lot of times you'll have a very visual website and it'll be really cool visual identity. Maybe they have a unique editorial tone and voice. But when you go into the product itself, that's all gone, right? The prompts are very boring. Everything is accept, next, cancel. It's a little bit kludgy getting through it. It's not too easy. And it's a lot of times just because marketing wasn't involved in it at all. A lot of times in SaaS or even AI, you have very distinct and different teams, right? Marketing, who totally does things differently than sales, who totally does different things than product. And these functions become little islands where they don't work together. So in a really good PLG initiative, if you're trying to make the product more simple, more fun, trying to deliver value quickly, a lot of times marketers will come in there. They're good at conversion rate optimization. They're good at, being creative, making fun, maybe some, Easter eggs, delightful moments as they go through. They're going to rewrite the prompts. We did that a lot at Slack, where we had the person who was in charge of our editorial tone voice. We went through and rewrote what the sign-up flow looked like, right? Just from the copy perspective. We looked a lot at hey, how do we improve these different levels within the growth engine? Marketing can help there. Same thing with sales, right? A big part of PLG is you're going to have things like high velocity, people that buy on their own. Well, sales is really good at knowing what all the objections are, right? So, hey, how can we weave that into the buying process? Even if you're doing it self-serve and even if you're doing it via the product, what does that look like, right? Support success, right? In the old model before PLG, you would only go in there and help when very reactive, right? When someone reached out to you, they'd have to get out of the product. They'd have to go to the website, find the support link, fill out a form, wait for, a day, a week, 2 weeks to get an answer, get it, then go back into the product and figure it out. Well, why not leverage in product chat? Proactive, I'd even argue, right? If you're doing more ABM campaigns, you're going to have, hey, maybe a top account came in. They're in the Fortune 500. This is an account we've been going at forever. Well, you're doing PLG. You've got a free plan. We have like someone just signed up for a team on it. That's huge, right? But maybe you say, hey, let's be proactive. Customer success. This is could be a huge account, right? They're from a big company, they're from Google or IBM. Hey, let's go proactively as they're walking through the first 10, 15 minutes or hour of like using the software, proactively pop up a chat bubble. Like, hey, I'm Alexandria. I'm here to help out. If you need any help setting it up, or if you're running any problems, just let me know, right? That's great. Like, how many people have started a software and you're like, I just can't figure it out. Whatever, I'm going on. I'll try a different product, right? That could be helpful, right? Or you can even do it from a sales perspective, right? Hey, a very VIP account is using the account, or maybe they've passed a certain threshold of usage. And again, you have like proactive chat, you can start engaging in a relationship. So these things are important, like marketing being in the product, sales, thinking about how we do high velocity, objection handling, interacting, success support. All this stuff is part of PLG. Where I see sometimes, kind of getting back to the original question, as COS will ask, like, hey, what should we do here? Sometimes they'll just go, oh, well, I'm just going to give this to the product team. And again, product team is going to be able to help there, right? Like a lot of times, as opposed to just telling the product team, build new features, with PLG, a lot of times you're going, hey, make it more simple, make it easier to use, make it more, deliver value faster. You can measure those things, right? You can do a survey after a week. Hey, how simple was the product to use? Thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, 38% believe it's simple to use. Okay, product, that's your goal for your next sprint. Make this product more simple to use. They could do that. Would it help if I think they had some other resources, some other people, some other domain expertise come in and help them out? Yeah, that would, but product could still help there. But again, like putting in like things like self-service buying, seed and grow, and product education, that's another good one that I think marketing's good at. Like I saw this really consistently at Zendesk before we put it in, is a lot of people didn't use most of the features of our product. They didn't really like understand how to use the product. And we'd even run like conferences where we'd ask them like, hey, what features do you want to see next? And they'd inevitably raise their hand and say, I want this feature that we already had. And that was like my thing, is like, hey, as a marketer, we want to think people are going to our blog and reading our newsletter or whatever, but really like that's a really small subset. Most people are spending their time in the product. So how do you educate them in the product? Maybe we need a login screen, right? Where we have a visual that updates them on new features, or maybe there's literally a module in the product that talks about what new stuff is coming on, how to educate them on best practices and showing them on all the cool things that other customers and how they're using it, right? Like that's just a different thought process. It's like product-led growth is just saying, hey, people are spending all their time in the product. How do you support them? How do you educate them? How do you get them to expand into different, products? It's all happening in the product. So you need resources from all these different teams. And so kind of getting back to the original question, I haven't seen this much success when CEOs have either taken the approach of either A, it's just product team that's doing this, no one else, or B, we're going to put a tiny team on it, like a tiny SWAT team. I would argue a little bit better if that tiny SWAT team involves people from all these different teams, right? Or maybe you're doing freemium, you need someone from, finance there to kind of run the numbers and what are the support costs and everything that entails in freemium. I've done a separate video on freemium, which I love freemium. If you want to check it out, it's a little long, but it's worth it. But it matters though, right? You want to have a team of cross-functional members that are focused on it. Now, I would argue that has a little more success than even kind of just going the product route, having the Tiger team. Where I see the most success is when a CEO strongly articulates, hey, for this year, here are the top 3 initiatives that we're doing as a company. If it's below these top 3, we're not doing it, right? So they set a threshold. And then also within one of those 3 is PLG, right? This is a company-wide initiative. The ones that resource it from that perspective, I've seen tend to do the best. And trust me, there's a lot of reasons these PLG initiatives fail. I've done a video on that. There's 7 reasons why they fail. But a big part of it is the resourcing and setting out a clear vision, right? Like, hey, this is an important thing. When you resource it as a company-wide initiative, something that comes from that is you want to have the right metrics that you're going to use to drive that initiative. And I've done a whole nother video on that one. Like here are the best PLG metrics. At a high level, there's things like daily active users, product qualified leads, net promoter score, how simple is it to use, how fun is it to use, how quickly are they achieving value. There's a whole set here. There's other good ones on PLG if you want to research it. But in an ideal world, when you resource this, you say, hey, this is a company-wide initiative. Here are the core metrics, right? Maybe you choose 3 or 4 of those, 2 or 3, whatever it is. And then you say like, hey, guys, company, we all share in these metrics. We're not just giving this to the product team. We're not just doing just a small small team that gets this metric and no one else cares about it. That's a lot of reasons why PLG initiatives fail, because the traditional metrics are very different than those PLG metrics, right? Like if you have DAU, you're thinking about daily active users. You want to get people into the product using it every day. That's very different than someone else that's only concerned with leads, only concerned with a totally different traditional SaaS funnel metric with expansion revenue, right? They're not going to, and I would argue those actually are correlated in the long run, but in the short run, they're not going to like see it. You're just going to build, like if you're in product, you're traditional, you have a roadmap, you're just building feature after feature after feature. In PLG, if you focus on DAU and focus on how simple it is, you're going to go like, whoa, let's focus just on polishing these features, making them easier to use. Let's focus on the onboarding ramp. What does that look like, right? You're not building new features. In fact, I'd even argue when you just build new features, you make the product more harder to use and more complex, and you don't get DAUs, and you don't get a high net promoter score, and you don't get product qualified leads. So having some metrics you've identified and sharing that with the company. So a lot of times the CEO will be like, hey, I'm down, Bill. Like, I want to do this, but who should lead it, right? Should the product person lead it? Should the marketing person lead it? Should the COO lead it? The CRO lead it? My answer is really simple. Whoever is most passionate about it. And I think this is a great method that Mark Benioff used at Salesforce. So we use the V2 MOM, Vision, Values, Methods, Obstacles, Metrics. It was basically a way of just saying he would stack rank out at the beginning of the year, just like I articulated, right? Here's the top 5 or top 10 or however big you are, right? But what he would do is he would go, okay, for each one of those initiatives, these are all company-wide initiatives, but I'm going to assign as a leader to one of my people on my staff, someone in my C-suite, right? And sometimes it was, natural and logical, like who would do that initiative, but sometimes there were like these cross-functional initiatives. What he would do is he just thought, like, who's most passionate? Who's the person on your staff that's constantly talking about PLG? Right? That kind of gets it, that's watching a video like this, that's excited about it, that is advocating for it, evangelizing for it. That's a good person. Even if they don't fit, quote unquote, within the product team. Again, PLG is a much larger initiative, right? Like that's going to help you out. And that's something that, to wrap up here on resourcing, you have to realize like PLG is not just a product initiative. It's a company-wide initiative. When you only do it at the product level, you're going to miss out on a lot of key elements of PLG. And you're not going to have a successful implementation. So again, to kind of wrap up resourcing, look at it holistically, really think about who you're going to put on this. Think about it. Is this a company initiative? Make sure you align the metrics behind it. Make sure those metrics, I would argue, are shared for everyone that's working on it. And that you've stack ranked it high enough that like people are going to give it notice. I see a lot of these PLG initiatives fail because they were given to like 2 people. They don't have any metrics. And if they did have metrics, they're very different than everybody else's metrics who don't care about this. PLG, you get so much amazing growth, but it's a hard motion. You have to resource it correctly in order for it to succeed. Now, I've seen it work for a lot of companies. I've seen it not work for companies where it failed. And so I'm trying to give you like the fast forwards here. Avoid the things where it failed miserably and do the things where it succeeded. And I think you're going to be in a great position to succeed. So one final word here. If you are interested in leveling up your audio, your camera, your lighting, I spend countless hours on YouTube researching the crap out of this. I list all the equipment that I have in the description below. I've also done a video just on the studio tour, what it's like, how to build it, how to put these things in. Even if you want to start small and just like, hey, I want to start with one camera or, upgrade my mic. This is pretty much, I did a ton of research on this, so you can save a lot of time there. Anyways, thanks so much again for joining SaaS CMO Pro, and you have a great day.